we are really excited about this week's topic, the latest advancements in HVAC training. And there truly are some incredible advancements in the way that we prepare technicians and other professionals in the field of HVAC in this new era of education. So we're looking forward to hearing about that. As we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about some observations on what's taking place in the world of HVAC, both in industry and in education. Number one, let's all agree that HVAC is a great career field, and it is a growing career field. As many of you know, we do quite a bit of business in the state of Michigan. The Monroe News just recently published this article outlining jobs likely to experience the most growth. They point to Michigan's Hot 50, the forecast for careers in Michigan, and its long-term projection on those careers. And this report outlined a need for skilled workers in areas such as electricians, plumbers, and HVAC technicians in the state of Michigan. But of course, we know that's not just the state of Michigan. This is a trend that is taking place nationwide. This article was published recently on Fox Business. How much money do HVAC technicians make? According to this article, the median pay for HVAC technicians, $48,730 a year. And moreover, as it says, the outlook in this industry is estimated to grow by 13% by 2028, much faster than average. And if this estimation holds up, 46,300 new HVAC technicians will be added to a workforce that is already comprised of 414,200 people in this field. HVAC technicians, HVAC professionals, this is a great and growing career field. And the market itself is growing as well. According to an article I looked at just yesterday in the Daily Chronicle, would you believe that the global HVAC equipment market is growing at a compound annual growth rate of 6.53% between last year and the year 2026? Folks, I've been involved with a lot of businesses. I've been involved in a lot of different growing companies. I can tell you that if you are in a market that is growing by 6 or 7% a year, that is really, really good for you and really, really good for the world of HVAC. This means that this market, which is now about a $172 billion market, will become a $287 billion market by the year 2026. Let's talk for a moment about HVAC and COVID. You know, if we look over the last 5 or 6 months, we're accustomed to seeing articles and headlines that look like this. Can air conditioners spread COVID-19? Can our HVAC equipment spread this terrible virus? And that's still a concern, and that's still a question. But what we are finding is that HVAC can also be a major solution to the spread of COVID-19. For the last several years, I've been chairing a team that is heading up about an $8 million building expansion project just north of the city of Milwaukee, where I live. And one of the questions that came up last night in a stakeholder meeting around that expansion and construction project, question that came up last night is, will this facility that we are building and expanding, will it be COVID safe? We had to explain to the person who was answering that question that there really isn't any such thing as COVID safe, but that HVAC systems and new technology can play a role in the safety of our buildings. According to this headline, key to preventing COVID-19 indoors is ventilation. Or this headline, where schools, K-12 districts, are updating their HVAC systems to limit the spread of COVID-19. Or how about this one? I believe this was in the Wall Street Journal, all about how HVAC upgrades fight COVID-19 and climate change. Or this one, HVAC sees high-end sales boom due to COVID-19. It turns out that as people spend more time at home, they are becoming more interested in making sure that they have world-class and high-tech HVAC technology in their homes. And that is driving a huge sales boom in the world of HVAC. So the truth of the matter is that while there are some concerns related to our industry and COVID-19, this unfortunate virus and pandemic is actually creating some interesting opportunities in the world of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Let's chat for just a moment about the instructors in the world of HVAC. You know, I can tell you that I visit with technical colleges and community colleges, as does our team, all over 7 states. We get to know these folks. And I can tell you from experience that these are some of the absolute most open, nicest, and most interested people when it comes to learning about advancements in technology. I like to put this picture up. This is my friend Ben. Ben was recently promoted. He was promoted to the Dean of Midstate Technical College. That's in central Wisconsin. He was promoted to the Dean of their Stevens Point campus. But I didn't get to know Ben when he was a Dean. You see, before he was a Dean, Ben was, as you can see in the middle of this paragraph, he taught in the college's Renewable Energy Technician and HVAC programs going back about 12 years. I can tell you that when a member of our team or when I visited Midstate's campus, Ben always welcomed us into his lab, always welcomed us into his classroom, and it didn't seem to matter what he was in the middle of. He always had time to chat. And it wasn't just because he was a nice guy. He wanted to know what was taking place in the world of HVAC technology as we saw it. He wanted to continuously improve his program. That's why the technology and the topic today is so very important, is because we live in a world of instructors who are constantly, continuously improving the instruction that they are delivering to their students. And so we know that there are instructors just like Ben all over our territory, all over the United States that are eager to hear about our topic today. So we coined this new term. We call it IIO HVAC. We did not trademark it, so I guess anybody can borrow it. I did Google it, and I didn't find much on there. For those of you that are a little bit intuitive, you already know that that term is the industrial internet of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And as we'll be talking about today, this technology, this whole world of Industry 4.0, of connected systems, of the industrial internet of things, has come in a big way to HVAC. And in many ways, the world of building controls and HVAC is leading this technology. Not too long ago, I ran across this article. It was an interesting article. 31 industrial Internet of Things companies on the rise. Now, let me ask you this. How many of those companies, 31 industrial Internet of Things companies, how many of them do you think were energy, building controls, or HVAC companies? Would you believe that the answer is 10? I'm sorry, it is 10. The number is 10. More than 30% of those companies on that list were energy, HVAC, or building controls companies, a huge segment of this market. So we know that this technology is becoming really, really important in HVAC, in the way that we do sensing, in the way that we handle cybersecurity as we're sharing information all over our building and between buildings, building analytics, how we optimize our processes, the world of blockchain and encryption, and in the world of predictive maintenance. We'll be talking about that quite a bit today. Machine learning and system connectivity. So the world of HVAC is changing when it comes to the technology that we are using, the skills and the competencies that our technicians and other professionals need to know, and the things they need to know how to do are changing as we move into this world of IIO HVAC. So we are in a market that is a growing career field for the people entering it and the ones that are already there. The market itself is growing from $172 billion to $287 billion over the course of the next 6 or 7 years. COVID-19 is playing its role. There are some challenges related to COVID-19, but it's creating some interesting opportunities in this world as well. Our instructors in this field are great. They're eager to learn about new technologies. They're fantastic to work with. In this whole world of IIO HVAC, if you know Lab Midwest and ATS Midwest well, you know that we are all the way knee deep into the world of Industry 4.0. It's really, really important to us. It's important to our market. It's important to our customers. So when we look at these 5 things, we ask ourselves the question, why wouldn't we want to be in this market? Why wouldn't we want to be working with these great instructors and these great programs? And the answer is there's no reason that we wouldn't want to be there. We do want to be there. And that is the reason for our 2 guests joining us today. I'm proud to welcome 2 great friends. First of all, let me say, if I mix up their names on this webinar, it's my own fault, and I don't think that's going to happen. They are both named Jason. Our first, Jason Everett. Jason Everett, we work really, really closely with at Amatrol. Jason's a degreed engineer, spent time at Purdue University, has a degree from Purdue University, and also an MBA from Indiana University Southeast. So understands technology, understands business and applications. Jason has an amazing background in manufacturing and in education. Also joining me today is Jason Veneman. And Jason has a background in industrial maintenance and education that spans several decades. He studied at the University of Toledo. He studied at Pittsburgh State. He is, I can tell you from experience, a wealth of knowledge on all things HVAC and maintenance technology. So Jason and Jason, thanks to you both so much for joining us today for this very, very important topic. So we are going to dive right into our questions. And the first one is for Jason Veneman. And Jason, can you share with our audience some of the career pathways that you are seeing emerging in HVAC technology?
Well, thank you, Matt. Yes, the list is long. With the advancements in technology and everything that today's world is accompanying, 80% of the world's power is used to heat or cool something. So in the world of HVAC, there are a plethora of jobs that are out there now, and the future is coming. Everything from, we're going to say, residential, commercial, you can get into sales and marketing, you can get into automated controls, even design and engineering. So the list from installer to a service technician, you can work your way up. One of the attractive things about the HVAC industry is in a very short manner of time, forward-thinking people, they can actually go out and they can own their own business. So that's very attractive, especially to the residential and commercial sides. They can go out and be their own contractor and be the person that they want to be, to have their own lifestyle. Sales and marketing people, if you have an HVAC background, you can work your way up through the reps. Automated controls with the Internet of Things today is becoming more and more of a hot topic. We've been getting into the cybersecurity aspect of it. Design and engineering, energy analysis, energy engineer, even mechanical engineering with HVAC specialists, project managers. So the list is long for HVAC technology background. It is very much becoming a core trade that you can always fall back on and expand out in many different levels.
So tremendous opportunities in a number of different directions. Jason Veneman, one of the things that jumps out at me is your reference to IIoT and cybersecurity and analytics, which we know is really important, and I think leads to a great question for our friend Jason Everett. Jason, can you talk about some of the changes in HVAC technology that have come about in recent years, and maybe touch on why it's so important for our HVAC programs to stay up to date on technology as it continues to advance?
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you for having me. Yeah, the whole Industry 4.0 movement is becoming more of a significant factor in HVAC programs. I love your coined phrase there, IIO HVAC. Well, this is more and more important today. Connected devices, smart sensors, smart thermostats, wireless control, data analytics, all built into systems to better manage energy, keep systems running efficiently, and reduce costs. So falls under the umbrella of the building automation or integrated systems within the building facility. Just if you're going to tell a story about building a church, I'm going to tell a story about eating some barbecue. So I was at a barbecue restaurant, a chain down in Florida last week. I was actually working. It was off hours, kind of 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was relatively hot and stuffy in there. And we asked the waitress if she could turn on the AC. She said, well, I have to call corporate to have them turn the AC on. So she actually went away for a few minutes, called corporate, and all of a sudden the HVAC system turned on. So just an example of how corporations are managing costs using connected systems. So the same thing we can do with our home thermostat.
Absolutely. So that technology is changing like crazy. I am going to use that story, by the way. So sitting in a restaurant, Jason, and they have to call the corporate where they're controlling the HVAC from who knows how many hundreds of miles away. Really fascinating how this technology is evolving. And I think Jason Veneman, it really causes us to look at listening to our HVAC educators and understanding what's important to them. What are you hearing in terms of the importance of the quality of the curriculum and the training equipment that they're using to deliver HVAC learning?
Well, so thanks, Matt. Here's what we have found. We see hundreds of programs. We've talked to instructors across the nation. We work with people around the world. And I think we can sum this entire question up to one word: help. HVAC instructors in this field, they're typically not educators. They come to this field for any number of reasons. Most of them have, or all of them, because they're there, they have a passion for training the students. Now, with that training, they've got their curriculums that they have to design, or they've got to lean on somebody else. So that word help, what we found is instructors need to learn how to become educators and how to deliver the curriculum needs that are based on their local industries and their state requirements. HVAC doesn't have a national standardization per se. There's several things out there. So what they need to do is not only learn how to teach to whatever the curriculum levels they need to teach to, but they also need the equipment to do it. A lot of programs that we see, they're still in the 1980s, and they teach on the legacy equipment that is very, very important. But with the way the future is now and the way the future is going with big data and IoT, instructors are coming to us and asking us for equipment that is specific to training. They want to train objectives and outcomes. They want to be able to duplicate it. They want to be able to test and see the outcomes and how fast their students are actually learning. They get all sorts of donations. Most of those donations are very good. Sometimes the donations that they receive in their programs maybe aren't as well. And the students, the instructors just have to use it and do what they can. And 9 times out of 10, they do a great job. But it's that little extra bump that they're asking for is with the equipment and the curriculum delivery across the board. And with that, with the equipment being able to be duplicatable, they can go to their administration, they can prove a return on investment, and they can have a very successful program. But the two things that continually come up are delivery of the curriculum and duplicatable equipment.
Awesome. So asking for help and wanting help, both duplicating that equipment and delivering that curriculum, both really, really important things. And I think as we look to how we deliver that curriculum and how we deliver that help to instructors and to educators, Jason Everett, it's really important to understand what competencies are important, right? To reach out to industry, to work with people that are working in the field and understand what it is that they want as students are coming out of this program. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing in the industry about what competencies are important as people train for careers in HVAC.
You know, I think we're always going to have the need to focus on heating and cooling systems, laws of thermodynamics, electrical systems, installation, working on residential and commercial equipment, heat pumps, furnaces, mini splits, ductless systems, refrigeration systems. But I think there's more and more of a need to build troubleshooting into programs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But then to tie it back to Industry 4.0, I think integrating these heating and cooling systems to the building facilities, building automation systems. There's a lot of different players out there, you know, Honeywell, Johnson Controls, Schneider Electric, Cisco. I think being familiar with all these different platforms that are out there, at least just having a basic understanding of how they work, I think these are competencies that technicians are going to need in the future.
So working with industry, understanding those competencies, and you articulated them extremely well, making sure that we're working with instructors and educators, giving them the help they need to implement those competencies. At some point, though, it all comes down to the students, does it not, Jason Veneman? So let's talk now about when it comes to preparing our students and to equipping them with these competencies that have been identified by industry. Is there a best way for students to learn these competencies?
There is, and it's repetition. Learn, test, troubleshoot. This field is a very hands-on field. Every service call, every project is unique. Learning the calculations, learning flow controls, temperature drops, down to electricity side of it, AC/DC side of it. So it's down to repetition. It's learning your basics. It's the same as every other program where you learn your cores and you build out. The students progress through their competencies. Once again, back to the learn, test, and troubleshoot. As they progress, we would like to see them get more complex in either their hands-on activities or their calculations or their understanding of the world in HVAC as a whole. A lot of these students, they may not know it, but they're doing engineering level calculations right off the cuff of their callers, and they've learned that through the repetition. It all comes full circle whenever they're out there in the field or they're doing a piece of design work for whatever company or job that they're doing. They've got the background because of the training that they received. And I'm a big component on the troubleshooting. Learning how to troubleshoot in different scenarios is key to the success of their program. So very, very big on troubleshooting, and best way for students to learn their competencies is get through the programs. Of course, have a great attitude, show up every day, and do their best.
Absolutely. And work really hard at those hands-on skills and the repetition and the learn, test, troubleshoot, as you referenced, and we will be talking about troubleshooting in just a moment. Really, really important to have that cadence down. Hands-on skills. I mean, these are hands-on jobs and hands-on roles. And we are in a world where with the current pandemic, it is more and more difficult for our educators to deliver skills hands-on. They're still doing it. They're doing it safely. They're finding ways to do it, but it isn't like it was before March of this year. Are these skills, Jason, and competencies that we can help leverage virtual technology and platforms to deliver?
Oh, absolutely. A very high percentage of this can be taught with the theories and through in a virtual environment. The AC/DC, the Ohm's law, everything that can be, if deemed necessary, taught in a remote location through the use of whatever means necessary. Virtual trainers can teach students how to work with particular items, how to connect different things, how to build different structures. And then whenever they come to the point where they have to prove what they've learned, then the scenario has been figured out to bring the students back into the classroom, spend an hour, do the social distancing, CDC guidelines, whatever it might be. But yes, there's a high percentage of this that can be taught virtually. And then I would recommend coming back in for the hands-on portion of it to prove what you've learned, to get that feel, to get the understanding, to understand what a torque wrench feels like, and hear the click and know what it is whenever you're actually getting in there and replicating a install of some sort.
So perfect. And getting folks hands-on. We know that they need to get hands-on, being able to deliver the competencies virtually as extensively as possible. That helps leverage lab time. That helps keep some students in the lab for a longer period of time while others are learning some of their base competencies virtually. It's a great way to maintain a socially distanced educational environment. And it's a great way to teach not just the hands-on skills, but also the science of something that has come up a number of times now in this discussion already, Jason Everett, and that is the science of troubleshooting. And there is a science and there is a methodology to troubleshooting, and it is a skill that can be taught, is it not? Tell us about how we're teaching troubleshooting in the world of HVAC.
Absolutely. Amatrol's been teaching troubleshooting for 40 years now on manufacturing equipment, and now we're bringing that to HVAC systems. Troubleshooting is the skill that, once the technicians learn this skill, this is what they're going to be using all their lives, how they're going to make their money by troubleshooting systems. And to tell you about a story about my own home, when I fired up this last spring, it didn't cool properly. I called the technician. The technician came out and charged the system. Well, charging that system is something that we teach on our T78 7031 and 732. So we teach how to troubleshoot those systems. In July, I had an electrical fault. My starter relay blew. The technician came out, replaced the starter relay. This is something we teach on our electric relay control system and our T7100 trainer. And then finally, just a few weeks ago, the bearings went out on my unit, on my motor on my outside unit. And the technician came back and replaced the motor on the fan out there. And that's something that we use to train on our T7100 also. So our goal is to teach troubleshooting in an efficient way in the lab. Most of the time, these skills over a long period of time in the field, and we're trying to make them efficient by building systems that are connected to a software. The software is called Fault Pro. It's up there on the screen. That we can input faults into a system. So we're, in a lot of cases, and with newer lines of HVAC trainers, we're using real-world residential trainers, Train and Mitsubishi for the mini split. And we're manipulating these systems so that we can hardwire faults into the system so that we can actually plug-in faults. And is what this does, it allows the students to practice and come up with different skill sets for troubleshooting, different applications of troubleshooting, and test those applications and theories inside the lab. This provides a high level of consistency. We can reintroduce faults to unscrew a wire off a terminal strip, or put a faulty component in the system that may damage the system. We can embed these faults into the system by hardwiring these systems. Then also we can have a practice mode where the students can practice troubleshooting skills. So the software will randomly input faults into the system to practices trying to find these faults. And then finally, there's a testing mode also that instructors can use to input a fault and test students' number of attempts to find that fault and the elapsed time it takes them to find the fault. So that gives an instructor a really good idea how well the student knows the system. So we try to make our troubleshooting trainers as efficient to work in the lab that replicate all the skills and all the troubleshooting symptoms that you would see out in the field.
And I love the way you started the answer to that question, which is to say that Amatrol has been in the world of training troubleshooting for a long, long time, and that you said you're bringing that technology and bringing that knowledge to HVAC systems, which I think is a perfect segue into our next question for Jason Veneman. Jason, tell us about these new trainers that Amatrol has launched, and also share with us the methodology for picking these competencies and these specific areas as the initial entree into this space.
Hey, great. Well, let's talk about the methodology on why we did what we have done thus far. We asked questions. We took our expertise and then we started asking people in the field. We asked everybody from instructors to government officials to everybody different questions about HVAC, where the world of HVAC was going in the next 15 years, and what people thought, what they felt, what they like, what they don't like. So we decided to revamp some of the things that we have. We're already strong in troubleshooting. We're already strong in AC/DC, motor, thermal, etc. As Amatrol that you all know. As Jason said, we've taken all that information of the knowledge that we have, plus the information that we've gotten from leaders in the HVAC industry, and we've decided to take a systematic approach to building our HVAC line. And by systematic, I mean, as we build, we wanted pieces of equipment that were relevant today that could fill the gap in current HVAC programs. And then once we get it done, we wanted to be able to have somebody come to us and say, I have a problem, I want to build a program, do you have a solution? And we could say yes. We could do virtually a full turnkey program based on their needs and objectives for their states. So our first four HVAC items that we have out are on refrigerants, because the two refrigerants recovery charging systems, we all are facing EAP regulations, fluorocarbons. Things are changing to become more versatile around the world, not only in the United States. A big item in today's world is the heat pump troubleshooting system. Back again, leaning on what we know and what we do best, create a troubleshooting system that teaches a wide range of objectives and outcomes. And then we decided to work with the mini splits. Mini splits are a hot item here the last 10 years in the United States. Mini splits have been a major component in the global market, and they're newer to our country just for the simple fact that the United States typically has had unlimited energy. Places overseas that don't have as much energy have had to go to more efficient systems years and years ago. So we've taken that information, and this is the reason we've built these first four, and we continue to build out from there.
And we know that this is just the tip of the iceberg, right, Jason Everett? I mean, as Amatrol continues to look at advancements in this technology and ways to grow in this market, can you share with us what you see on the horizon? What's coming next in the HVAC pipeline for Amatrol?
Well, one thing that's going on at Amatrol, like I said before, we've been in business since 1980. We have a whole team of engineers that have developed a lot for advanced manufacturing, industrial maintenance, green energy, a lot of different technologies is what we've done. We've let that team of engineers just go on into Industry 4.0 automation, robotic integration, and hired more engineers to develop more building automation, HVAC products. So we have a new team that we created last year. They developed the 4 new trainers that you saw previously, but then we have a whole new lineup coming out for 2021. So we have a high level of focus at Amatrol with our engineering team and our curriculum team to develop training systems around refrigeration, residential and commercial installation, commercial and industrial HVAC systems. So what you saw before is more focused on residential, getting more into commercial. And then we have some existing trainers that fit into this space for geothermal troubleshooting systems and steam, energy, and some other type of products too. So big focus with our engineering team to develop new systems, but then also our curriculum team to develop curriculum that goes along with those systems.
So for our audience today, a lot to be excited about with regard to the future innovation coming from Amatrol. Speaking from that audience, speaking of that audience, Melissa, I'm curious to hear what questions they might have come up with as we went through this interview with the 2 Jasons from Amatrol.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt. And as we move into a Q&A time, if you do have any questions, feel free to use that Q&A button to submit those. The first question that we got from our audience, I'm going to actually direct this one to Jason Veneman. This attendee asks, are there industry recognized certifications specific to HVAC that students could earn after going through this HVAC program using these trainers?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the way our curriculum and delivery is in the process of being written now, every state and region is slightly different in their objectives and outcomes. Some states require a NATE certification, other states require an ICE certification. Our curriculum is written so the objectives and outcomes can be fulfilled, that no matter what they need to test for to get a certificate in their particular region, we've got it covered. They've got everything, all the tools they need. They can do their EPAs, they can do their 608. We can train towards a NATE, an ICE, a PARA, NCCER. One of the up and coming leading program leaders out there is HVAC Excellence. We align a lot of our stuff with them. So yes, depending on regions throughout the country, Maine is going to have different needs than Texas, but the objectives and outcomes are still the same. And we have everything out there and all the tools they need to be able to satisfy the credentials for their local region.
Great, thank you. Next question, Jason Everett, I'm going to direct this one to you. I know it's mentioned, this presentation mentioned some of the leading companies like Honeywell and Johnson Controls. Jason, can you tell us how Amatrol systems are able to prepare students for working with just the world's leading companies?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we've been in business 40 years. When we build a training system, we're going to use real world components. We're going to use the components that the students are going to see when they go out in the field. So our engineering team that is heading up HVAC is a little bit different with HVAC and building automation and in manufacturing. There's 2 big names in PLCs, Siemens and Allen. You can cover pretty much 90% of the market. It's a little bit more challenging when you go to building automation, and there's so many players, like I said, Honeywell and Johnson Controls above. In general, we're going to use those types of components. In general, they work relatively the same. So we're going to teach the basic skills that can be transferable from one controller to another controller to another controller.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. I think, Jason Everett, you might have mentioned this, but we'll just kind of do another recap. Any plans in the future for commercial refrigeration systems?
Absolutely. That's the 2021 project. Yes.
Great, thanks. All right, I think that's it for audience questions. Thanks so much, everyone, for submitting your questions. Matt, I will leave things to you to wrap up.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Great job producing once again. Really appreciate all of your work and your support. My thanks to Jason Everett and Jason Veneman, both of Amatrol, for sharing just a great wealth of knowledge on some really innovative training systems that Amatrol has come up with. We're so excited, first for what they already have in the pipeline and is already being delivered to education, and then for what's coming as well. So Jason and Jason, thank you both so much for being with us. We'll be back again next Wednesday. Our topic next Wednesday is 3 ways you should be using e-learning this semester. So we may touch on a few things that maybe people don't think about in terms of how we can use e-learning platforms to deliver learning in this world of COVID and this world of flipped classrooms. We've got some great examples of some really, really innovative education institutions who are both providing hands-on opportunities for their students, but also leveraging virtual technology and e-learning. So we look forward to having you join us for that next week. Welcome back to a great school year, to a brand new school year. We'll see you all next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you.